Welcome back. Back once again, Renegade Master, whatever that song is. So today, continuing with my top 10 list of things to really consider before Foxtrot Oscar to another country from the UK and running away from the UK. I'm on number 9 of my list, which is building a social circle. So move into a new country like Italy, where I am, it can be exciting and full of adventure. But when it comes to building a new social life, reality often hits harder than expected. Leaving behind familiar friendships, family gatherings, and casual conversation in your native language can make you feel isolated. And in Italy, where social circles often run deep and tight knit, it can take real time and effort to find your place. I've kind of discussed that again in another one of my previous videos, but yeah, I've been struggling for quite a while mentally. I lost my job back in whenever it was 2020, still COVID times, and I was working remotely for a London company from here in Rome, where I am, and I was basically one of the first people when they had to make redundancies at the top of the list, because it's just easier for them to get rid of the people that are remotely in another country, and they kind of focused more on the people that were still in the UK who would come to the office now and again. So I've struggled a lot. Kind of me and my mental mind, I've come to discover, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I've self-diagnosed myself basically as having like a social phobia. I'm very introverted. Ultimately, I've self-diagnosed myself as having social anxiety. Even when I was back in the UK, I would never really like to be in big crowds of people. I prefer just a small setting, a small group of friends. I once had a nice little group of friends, basically no more than 4. I had my mate Dan, mate Jason, my mate Justin, and my mate Mark. So I had 4 friends. Now, Dan I still see occasionally when I go back to the UK. Jason basically just dropped me like a lead weight when I moved to this country. Justin's basically stuck up Jason's arse and has kind of occasionally sort of still keeps in contact with me. But whatever Jason says, Justin kind of, they both a bit up each other's own. Mark is now basically a father himself, and if I was to reach out to him when I was back in the UK, I could go and see him, but it's different. You know, he's got 2 children now, and we don't really have time to hang out and do the same things that we used to. So it's just different. But Dan's the only one really, I've said in previous video when I went back to the UK, that I actually make time to go and see. As much as Dan, I mean, I can tell sometimes that I'm a bit of a burden for him to be turning up and spending time with him. Sometimes he just doesn't even seem switched on, doesn't even really, he'd be looking at his phone a lot of the time. You know, if I'm trying to have a discussion and talk to him, he'd be looking at his phone. But at least I had those friendships. Here, I found it incredibly hard. I moved here kind of thinking my missus's brother, her brother's the same age as me, and I kind of thought when we first moved over here that I would maybe kind of be hanging out with him a bit. Like, some of his friends have quite a few things in common with myself, like they like similar types of music. I was kind of just picturing that I'd hang out with him, meet some of his friends, end up doing the same things that I used to do in the UK, like going to concerts and music festivals, and I don't know, maybe going and having a pint, watching football occasionally, anything like that. But it just didn't pan out like that. Her brother's an accountant, is basically is the sort of person that still wears a shirt, you know, like an office type shirt at weekends. You know, is a shirt wearer. I mean, look at me, I'm wearing Yoda today. I'm just chilled, and you know, I just dress down and understand the reason. Even business people, while they will have to wear suits and ties, I just find it all just ridiculous. Finding mates here, I've met a couple of English guys since I've been here, one of which was also a Manchester United supporter like myself, but they live completely the opposite side of Rome, and it's a bit of a mission to get to, especially when I don't really drive so much here, and my girlfriend is basically just too scared to drive, for obvious reasons of people here drive like absolute fucking lunatics, and it's just quite scary and dangerous. Basically, you've got people like on mopeds. Even if you're in a 2-lane road, they make it into 3 different lanes and everyone's just fucking cutting up. And that's why if you ever come to Rome and look at the cars, you'll see majority of the cars are all bangers. They're all smashed up, got dents in them, scratches, because no one can fucking drive. They're all just idiots. They're all coked up on coffee at the same time. They don't get proper sleep, so they're probably half asleep a lot of the time. And other times they're all driving along, staring at their phones, video calling their friends while they're driving at like 60 miles per hour. You know, phone in one hand, cigar in the other hand. Don't care about having to use the steering wheel or gear sticks. This is the problem. I mean, a lot of the problem stems from the fact that I've moved here and basically discovered that I'm not so happy here. And even if I do meet Italian friends, they tend to be the types of Italian people that I don't particularly like. You know, so they'd be quite happy to be driving around looking at their phones while they're driving around. The other English people that I met, one of which I think I said before, he was a Liverpool supporter, so I'm a Manchester United supporter. And I think he's kind of a bit recluse himself. Again, he's got a missus and a child, and I think they just like to keep themselves close knit. It's just them doing their thing. He's never called up and sort of said, do you want to go for a drink, or do you want to come round to ours and have a barbecue? He's just never really made the effort. And he used to work basically for the same UN agency that my girlfriend works for. And the other guy was, I think he was a fair bit younger than myself, but he's just here doing his thing. He's basically, as a musician, is a jazz guy, I say jazz, but it's more like jazz punk. And he's just come here and his whole thing is just traveling around doing music stuff, which to me, I would have found it very interesting had I not got a child. You know, I've got father duties and stuff that I need to do, so I can't just keep going off. My girlfriend struggles as it is with our daughter, and so I can't just always be going off and doing stuff with him. So I did meet him a few times, but then it got apparent, you know, he kept sending me messages saying he's got a gig tonight, 11 o'clock. Not the sort of person that goes out at 11 o'clock to go to a gig and then be coming in at like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. That ship has sailed, as they say. I'm a mature father now, unfortunately. You know, that would have been a lot better if I would have met him when I was in my 20s, and if I was here on my own or with my girlfriend even, maybe she might have been a lot more interested had we not got a child. So they weren't really easy to maintain, those friendships. But then when it comes to Italians, I mean, there's a couple of dads that I've met through my daughter's school that speak good enough English to, you know, be able to chat to them about football when we're stood there outside the school in the morning. But we've not really arranged anything. I keep saying we need to arrange to go to Stadio Olimpico to go and watch Roma play football. I want to try and do that, but at this present moment in time, it's pretty much the end of the season, so we won't be doing that anytime soon. I'm kind of hopeful that maybe pre-season we might be able to do it. But yeah, again, they're fathers as well. They've got duties and things that they need to do. They can't just hang out. Then there's also another guy as well his son is a little bit younger than my daughter, but they used to go to the same nursery school. Kind of kept in touch with him a bit, and occasionally we message each other. He's cool. He's a good person to have a chat about football with, and he also likes to complain about Italian culture and, you know, the way Italian people are, and like the way the bins are overflowing and these things that really irritate him as well. At the same time, they all play paddle, you know, like a shorter version of tennis. He basically started playing paddle with my missus's brother. And I think my missus's brother has just said a few things about me to him that has kind of made him not contact me quite as much. Like, he's put a bit of a downer on the only friendship really that I had with this guy. But although saying that, I did see him, or I have been seeing him recently. I actually saw him Sunday morning, I think it was. I went to a party. He wasn't part of the party, but he was in the park that the party was at. So I saw him and had a good catch up with him. He's the only one, but other than that, nothing. I did have a kind of a friendship with one of my neighbours, and I was in a band with him, but kind of got a bit screwed over by him. He basically decided he wanted to start another band. Nothing really to do with me. It was just the band that we were in. It was a couple of people from his work, and as much as we were doing sort of music that he quite enjoyed, a couple of the people that he was work friends with weren't necessarily join the music. So he just wanted to do something with people that enjoyed, that all enjoyed, and there was like a democracy basically. So him and the guy who was our drummer, again, also our drummer, didn't really want to be the drummer. I think he just wanted to be the main man. He basically they wanted to do more Italian music. So they went off and found other Italian people to do Italian music in a band. They obviously didn't ask me because I wouldn't really be that interested, to be honest. Don't really know much Italian music, and the Italian music that I hear I just don't really like, to be honest. Quite stuck in the past. So yeah, I've not really, they went a bit weird. I've not really managed to find a nice circle. We've got another neighbour downstairs, but he works for NATO, so he comes and goes back and forth between Brussels and here. But even then, I mean, again, it's like a cultural difference for me. I particularly have conversations with Italian people because they just interrupt me all the time. They all talk over each other and talk over people. So I'm sometimes trying to get things out, trying to think of it, and they'll just be talking over the top of me, and then it gets to the point where I'm just like, I can't even remember what I was talking to you about. You just keep interrupting me. It's just a headache. When I'm back in England, I'll be trying to explain something to my mate Dan, and he'll just sit there listening, and then there's I think social cues. English people know when someone's got to the end of a sentence and then it's their turn to give an opinion about something. Here I find it incredibly hard. It's just everyone's just all talking over each other. Another thing, going back to just my relationship with my girlfriend, it's just one of those things that I'm in a complete predicament of what to do. Do I just leave? Quite a lot of the time I don't really feel that happy within my relationship. I can't really have the same kind of fun, happy bants and such like that I have encountered in previous relationships with my own nationality, English girls that I've been out with. I can't have that with my girlfriend because a lot of the time everything just gets quite heated. Sometimes I'll be trying to explain something to her or saying something to her that's kind of sarcastic, but it just goes over her head. She doesn't understand it, ends up in an argument because she doesn't see it from the point of view that I was trying to say in a jokey way, and it ends up in a bit of an argument, and it just gets stressful and challenging because I can't get things out that I'm trying to say to her because she's talking over the top of me and I don't get to finish my sentences. And again, also when my daughter's around, and she's quite challenging, I'll sometimes be trying to have a conversation with my girlfriend, but then my daughter will come in and start talking over the top of us, and it will become about her, and I just say, I'll just give up, I'll talk to you about it later, don't worry. So I can't even really have that much of a friendship or a relationship with my missus, really, a lot of the time. So I'm always stuck in my head. I'm always waiting for those moments when I get to have video calls and stuff with my daughter and my mum and my dad. I'm always often sending messages on WhatsApp to my nephew, trying to have just a lad's talk, about football or whatever with my nephew, and trying to have a bit of a relationship with him because I have two daughters and I really wish that I'd have had a boy, really, to be honest. Most evenings my girlfriend and my daughter are just talking amongst themselves in Italian. I'm just there in the corner of the room, just like Billy No Mates, just like totally lost. Can't really have conversations as a family. I have said numerous times to my girlfriend my feelings and thoughts about this. I say to her, look, it would be nice if I could be involved in these conversations. And fair enough, my daughter's 6 and she doesn't really know the English language that well. I'm still trying to teach her. I say to my girlfriend, well, she's going to learn it a lot better if we all three of us talk to each other in English. Yeah, as I say, it's temporary. Sometimes it literally, for a day they manage to do it, and then the day after it's straight back to them just talking to each other in Italian. So I don't really have that kind of a relationship or a happy social circle, as it's called. So cultural differences in friendship. In the UK, casual friendships can develop quickly, from chatting at work to bonding at the pub. In Italy, however, friendship is often slow to build, but deeper and long-lasting once established. Locals tend to have strong social networks formed from childhood, school and extended family, so it can feel like there's little room for outsiders at first. This isn't to say Italians aren't warm and welcoming, there absolutely are, but building trust and genuine friendships may require more time, consistency and patience than you're used to. Yeah, so socializing in another language is very, very exhausting. So as I don't really know the language so well, I gravitate towards those that are able to speak English. I do make an effort occasionally to say the bits of Italian that I can say and understand how to say, but even if I just start a conversation in Italian, they then reply to me in Italian. I then don't necessarily understand what they're talking about, so I can't reply to them in Italian. I made quite an effort this week actually to just try to talk more to my missus when we're at home only in Italian, and so far so good, but it's just not easy. Socializing in another language is very exhausting, especially in a group setting where conversations move fast and are filled with slang or dialect. Misunderstandings are common, and it's easy to feel like you're always on the outside of the joke, basically. I went to a children's party, and I did say to my girlfriend beforehand that I'd only drop them off, come and say hello, and then I was going to go. But it's just evident. I stand out like a sore thumb. I am the English one. I'm the English guy. And everyone always seems to just be staring at me. And to me, sometimes I just end up getting really paranoid, just thinking that people were just talking about me behind my back, or saying, oh, that's that idiot that's doing that video with his child and making a fool of himself. Yeah, trying to speak the language shows effort and respect, and they usually appreciate it, Italians, but it's just not as easy as people think it is. Especially for someone like myself who's dyslexic. I can't really have huge conversations with people. I just find the English people, speak to them in the bits of English, but when something comes up in Italian that I can say, I'll sort of say it to them. And sometimes they're a bit stuck for English, and I actually know how to say something, so that's quite useful. Yeah, it's all just a bit of a hassle. I wish I'd never got together with an Italian girl. I wish I'd never come to Italy, basically. I suppose just in short, just to give a bit of context again, I only really ended up with an Italian girl because I was fed up with English girls, to be honest. Most of all the English girls that I'd been with before the Italian girlfriend all had drink or drug problems. I just wanted to get away from that. I just wanted a cool hippie chick that just wanted to just do hippie things, go to festivals and just not have a drink problem, just be able to be focused and come to England for a better life. And basically that's what I was looking for. Basically just someone who don't mind, just a glass of wine. Most of the English girls that I knew would just want a bottle of wine, a couple of bottles of champagne. I had one that I went to basically Reading Festival with, and she just used to disappear into the tent for 10 minutes, and discovered by the end of the weekend she was going in there because she had her own little drug stash. So she was sticking cocaine up her nose, doing speed and taking pills. She didn't even tell me about it. She just had her own little drug addiction. I was naive in kind of thinking that an Italian girl would just be more sane, but I've kind of come to discover that she's maybe a lot more insane. At least with the English girls, even when they're a bit drunk, I can have a bit of a banter and a bit of a laugh with them, but the whole humour aspect is completely different. Just little English, what do they call it, like the dry humour of us English people, it's just completely disappeared and lost on Italian people, including my girlfriend. Even though she lived in England for 8 to 10 years or something, not really much of the English humour kind of rubbed off on her. So missing this UK social norms, at times really miss the ease of small talk and the sarcasm and those friends who just get it and just get my humour. And like familiar social environments, the lack of familiar social environments lead to complete loneliness, especially like during holidays and like things like May Day, when I could be sat in a beer garden at the side of the River Thames just having a laugh with people that get me and people that make me laugh and inspire me and fill me full of confidence. But instead I've basically just become a social recluse. I just lock myself here in my little prison cell because I don't really want to go out. It just annoys me, from everything from the litter and the dog shit on the streets to people gesticulating with their hands and going mad and seeming like arguments all the time, and it all just makes me quite stressed. Then it makes me quite depressed. It's not as easy as you would think. I've seen people, English people, that have all gone off to Thailand and Bali, and they're just on their own. They've literally just got a backpack on their backs. I'd like to imagine that they're social beings that are life and soul of the party, that can talk to anyone. If not, if you're just one of these people that's not really a social butterfly, you're really going to struggle. You're going to struggle mentally. You're going to start feeling quite alone and lost, and before you know it, you're probably going to want to just return to the UK just for some normality, which is what happens with me a lot. I literally come here, it's like I'm on a meditating retreat. When I come back here, I just lock myself in here, try to find some kind of peace for myself, but then, counting down the days until I can jump on a train, a plane, and then back in an automobile back to my parents' house, and to see people that I know. As I say, it's only really my mate Dan. There is other people I've mentioned before in other videos. There is other people I could go and see, but again, they're quite British, and they just like to go and get drunk and do drugs all the time. So I kind of try to avoid them. Even though Dan also likes his drugs and his drink, I can just go round to his. It doesn't revolve around us having to actually go out. My mates like to go to the pub. They like to get on it, watch the football, stay there all afternoon, all evening, and then basically a dirty kebab. Whereas with Dan, I can just get in my mum's car, drive to his house, smoke a couple of J's, maybe drink a beer, and then get in the car and just go home. That's basically just my life now. I mean, that was before I moved to London. I had my own flat. Well, I say my own flat. It was my sister's flat, but she was living with her boyfriend in a house. So she was renting the flat to me. And I lived there with my mate Dan initially. And then he got a girlfriend, moved out with her into a house, and then my mate Mark moved in, and we just used to sit around smoking, playing computer games and watching football all the time. Occasionally we would go out on a Friday night just for some drinks, but a lot of the time I would end up just leaving early, coming home, and because I used to make music basically, so I'd just come home, smoke a J, sit there with headphones on, creating music until like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Then I was stupid and basically found the Italian one, and my whole life just changed. I spend a lot of the time in my head self-psychiatring myself and thinking to myself, have I done myself some harm by being with an Italian and moving to Italy? I'd like to go back to normality. I just often think to myself, it would be so nice if I was like Marty McFly in Back to the Future and I had a time machine and I could just go straight back to 2012, straight back to living in this flat that was my sister's, and just make a completely different decision. I mean, there was another girl at the same time as I found the Italian girl, and she was English. She was also the same star sign as my missus from before, my 16-year-old daughter's mother, who basically has a drink problem, and she's the same star sign. So that's why I still chat to her, funnily enough. Now I still chat to her on Facebook, and I've even got her WhatsApp, her telephone number. I sometimes chat to her, and because she ended up going off to France. So she's not in a relationship. I think she's kind of just got to the decision that she doesn't need a man in her life. But I live every single day regretting, thinking, why did I not get together with her? My life would have been a lot more kind of simpler. I say it would have been a lot more simpler. I'd probably have been encouraged to move to France, and that probably wouldn't have turned out any better. I just struggle with everything. So yeah, that was number 9 on my list of building a social circle. Moving to a new country is not easy at all. If you move to a foreign country, a lot of English people gravitate towards other English people, but if you're planning on settling in another country, really make an effort to learn the language, as much as it's really not easy, most languages, and try to find actual locals that you can have a friendship with, Don't just gravitate towards English people and end up just being drunk all the time in a foreign country. Because I mean, that would be another part of the problem. Getting drunk, getting arrested in another country. Jeez, good luck with that one. So yeah, that was number 9, building a social circle. Laters.